Welcome back to Reading Bear. Today, we will take a look at some new revenge stories. And if you enjoyed my content, please don't forget to subscribe to my channel and post some bear emojis in the comments. Let's go!
First one is titled, Nobody is Taking Your Crap Anymore. We all quit. I was reading about some people how they quit their job on the spot and the company went under. This is when I was part of a mass walk-off. This happened in the late 90s when I worked for a concrete company. We were the ones pouring foundations, footings, floors, etc. It was long hours but the pay was good. Most of the guys on the crews were awesome people with a great work ethic. We also had some that were slower but not too slow to impede the job. Well, bossman was a micromanaging, interfering, loud. I don't think I ever heard him when he wasn't yelling, and didn't think anything about grabbing a worker to yell in his face. 1 week before the walkout we were working on a foundation for a kiln at a sawmill. There weren't enough people in all the crews to do the job, so he hired some locals to work until the job was finished and paid the same as us. We didn't care. More hands, more work done, and them getting paid the same as us, we considered they were lucky. No hard feelings and seemed to get along with all the new guys. One of the new guys was not shown how to do a certain task and thought, who better to show me than bossman? So he walked over and asked to be shown. That is when all hell broke loose. Not sure if bossman was already in a bad mood or if this caused it, but within a second of asking, bossman had the guy by the throat against a wall and slapped him so hard he fell over the safety fence and had a 4-foot fall to the concrete floor. Bossman just walked off the job site and drove away. This was a time when cell phones weren't very common and none of us had one, but the two-way radio in the truck had an emergency channel. The foreman radioed for an ambulance and police. The foreman went in the ambulance with the worker and filled out his police report at the hospital. Lucky for the worker, he ended up with just bruising and nothing broken. Since the foreman was the second in charge, he had all of our home numbers and gave each of us a personal call to let us know the hospital report and to ask us to get together for a group chat. All of us showed up. Except one, the guy who got hurt. We passed it off he was too sore and thought no more on it. Not only because it was at a pub and the first round was free, but to find out what everyone's thoughts were. Other than the new guys, we were all happy enough to just walk away like bossman did and let him suffer the consequences of breach of contract with the sawmill. They just wanted the money. This is when our except one limped in. He told us he just came from home after talking to the officer in charge of the case and said bossman just was arrested for assault causing bodily harm. Or something of that sort. I can't remember right off. That settled it with the locals. They were all charging him with breach of contract since he hired them to complete this job, and now they can't. The next day we were all at the job site, and when bossman showed up we each walked up to him and said directly in his face, "I quit," then went to our vehicles and drove away in parade fashion. He ended up with such big fines through his company for breach of contract at the sawmill that took up everything he had saved, and he had to sell off equipment to make ends meet. Then came the 6 or so temp employees with their claims. The court sided with all of them and he was made to pay out each contract in full. That broke him and he had to let the bank take almost everything. I don't know why, but his wife stuck with him even though she admits he got his just dessert. She comes from a family of money, so even if he is broke she is not. Even more fallout. Remember that guy he threw over the fence? Yeah, he won his case too, and bossman had to spend close to 5 months in county jail, a huge fine he couldn't pay, 1 year anger management courses, and volunteer at the local food bank. If there was more, I can't think of it right now. In the end his in-laws loaned him the money to start up again, and for the last 10 years has been doing good for himself and is actually a great man to work for. I like to think that his entire workforce walking out one by one had something to do with it. Next one is titled, Don't Believe Me? Fine, pay more. I used to sell cars, and the dealership I worked at had a policy of being honest, honoring our word, and not advertising BS. This was both a blessing and a curse. Because our competitors didn't abide by the same rules. And if you spent a split second to look at our reviews compared to our competitor reviews, you'd see that. So I was working a deal on a truck at the time on a customer. And it had a conquest rebate of $1,500. We were at like roughly $40,000. The customer I was working with qualified for that conquest rebate. However, before I closed him, he was browsing on his phone and he saw a competing dealer offering a very similar F-150 for $35,000. Now our offer to him was basically invoice minus rebates. I knew this dealership was lying on several fronts, and I explained that how the dealer got to the $35,000 price was 1. They didn't include freight or prep in any of their advertising. They had small print saying this. 2. They stacked rebates that weren't stackable. 3. They included every single conditional rebate possible. Again, you won't qualify for those rebates. 4. They had mandatory add-ons such as VIN etching, nitrogen in tires, and tinting that they didn't tell you about until you got there. Also, they charged a lot for those options. 5. I also knew the GM at this dealership never did invoice deals, ever. I tried to explain my customer this, and of course he didn't believe me because I'm a car salesman and no one should trust a salesman. I then explained to him it's close to closing, I know what the inventory on his vehicle looks like, and it's really unlikely the conquest rebate of $1,500 will be available come tomorrow. He said he's go to them and get a better deal since we refused to beat their offer. We couldn't. If we'd have matched their offer, we'd be losing our butt. I told him, the price we offered is off the table the second we close up shop for the night, and tomorrow the deal could be completely different. He goes there. Next afternoon he comes back fuming, upset. He asks me, can you believe they wanted to charge me freight and prep? Yes, I can. Can you believe they included rebates I didn't qualify for? Yes, I can. Can you believe they included rebates that can't be combined? Yes, I can. Can you believe they wanted to charge me thousands and thousands of dollars for BS add-ons? Yes, I can. I asked him what price they finally came to. He said $42,500, and I asked him if he bought the truck. He said, no way in hell was I going pay $2,500 for the same damn truck than I could get from you. I smiled and I said, so you want the truck? He goes, yes, let's just get this over with. I said, well, unfortunately the conquest rebate didn't get renewed, so your new price is $41,500. He stares blankly at me and said, are you ducking kidding? And I go, nope, here I can show you. So I show him the list of rebates from the month prior, and the expiration date on those rebates, which was yesterday, and then I showed him the new list of rebates which clearly showed no conquest rebate. He looks at me, goes, look, if you don't honor the price you gave me yesterday, I'm just going back to the other place. I explain, every dealer has access to the exact same rebates. They also don't have the conquest rebate anymore, so if yesterday their price was $42,500, today their price is going to be $44,000. He huffs and puffs and buys. Before I get yelled at for being sleazy, rebates are not money from our dealership, rebates are money directly from the factory. If the factory decides to stop offering a rebate, I have zero control over that. Also, even though he paid more, my commission stayed the same because our offer was the same, invoice minus rebates, it's just less rebates. Next one is titled, he asked me to take him to court, so I did. It started in December 2019 and finished a few weeks ago. So context, I was selling an item of clothing in a FB group. I wanted either something bigger, trade, or to sell it. This guy, call him Dick, D for short, messages me and asks for a trade. That's all fine and we both send off our items. Weeks go by and I go to message him to say I haven't received it, but he's blocked me. I got my girlfriend to message him and he instantly unblocked me and was cocky, saying that he'll return my item if it's that big of a deal. Alright, fine. So I wait and COVID comes, then August, I remember. He's blocked me again. Again, girlfriend messages him and he blocks her. So I told my mum, I know, and he apologized and said he'd pay me at the end of the month. Again, okay. End of the month comes and I get a message, if you message any of my family, I'll get you done for harassment and I'll get a non-molestation order against you. A non-molestation order is a type of injunction that may be sought by a victim of domestic abuse against their abuser. I've never met this guy, so like. Anyways, the message ends with, take me to court then. Cue petty revenge. I called so many lawyers on this, but because it was £45, they wouldn't take it. So I sent him a letter saying he's gotta pay or I'll take him to small claims. He sent my item back after 9 months and said it was stuck at the post office. I opened it and it was disgusting. It was covered in animal hair and had sweat stains galore over it. I messaged him saying it was disgusting and he could have it back if he paid, but he replied, guess I'll see you in court. So I went through with small claims. He sent his defense in, saying it was a gift and blah 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 whatever. He also said I sent him abuse. So I'm upset at this point. Our court hearing was £25 and I'd paid £25 for it to be sent to court originally, so I was going through with it. I sent in every piece of evidence I had, every chat log and pictures. March came around and a few weeks before, I was going ham looking through court docs. I even called the Royal Mail to ask them questions about post offices and times and shipping. I literally spent all day, every day focusing on this day. Court day arrives and I answer the phone. Judge is lovely, then she tries calling him twice, he doesn't answer. After some back and forth, she's upset and she said, given that I've called D twice and he didn't answer and he hasn't submitted any evidence, I rule in your favor. So I've gotten £95 and my item back. I got the court letter yesterday and yup, it's ruled in my favor and he has 21 days to pay or it'll be taken further. Haha, I win. All this over £45. I'm petty and proud. Next one is titled, Backyard Car Wash Fence Owner is a Douche. My backyard faces a car wash and they own the fence. It has had several additional supports put in over the years. We rent, I know the owner of the house, not a big deal, the 2 supports are broken and it's leaning. I was gonna put a small support in because we're moving soon and the owner doesn't mind either. My pregnant wife, child and I go over to clean our car and install a new car seat on level ground. Cue rude a whole fucking owner in big black Ford F-150, stickers everywhere, looks like Tom Cruise in Days of Thunder with a shitty moustache. He comes over after watching us for a minute, asks if there's a problem, all while getting closer to us. I politely let him know we're installing a new car seat. No you're not, you need to get out of here, he said, rude as duck. I give him a, yeah okay, and finish, we drive off. We checked the ratings at that car wash and it's happened a handful of times before. The owner has been rude and even followed people. I called code enforcement to let them know of the dilapidated, leaning, broken splintered fence with the screws and nails sticking out. Huge safety concern. They are going to serve him to fix it. He has a month or he goes to court. Next one is titled, Won't Let Me Pass You? Okay, wait your turn. I was driving on the interstate a couple of months ago. This is a drive I make quite frequently, so I like to set my cruise control and just go. I'm creeping up on a car in the right lane, so I do the responsible thing and move to the left to pass them. Right as I'm about level with them, they speed up, and after a mile or so, I slow down and just get back over to the right. I'm not gonna worry about passing them since they sped up. Well, apparently they don't know how to set their cruise control, because sure enough, another 3 miles-ish down the road, I'm creeping up on them again. So I move over to the left lane to pass them again, and sure enough, they speed up to prevent me from passing them. So now I'm kind of annoyed. I'm not trying to play games on the road, but I am trying to pass this Dumbo. I look ahead and see there is an 18-wheeler ahead on the right, in the other guy's lane. I see Dumbo speeding up to get ahead of me now, to pass the 18-wheeler, and I kinda snapped. I sped up so he couldn't merge into my lane, then when I got alongside the 18-wheeler I slowed down to a comfortable 55 miles per hour to match the 18-wheeler. I drove like that for 5 miles to teach this jerkbag a lesson. Please people, just set your damn cruise control. Next one is titled, You Want to Peg My Butt with Your Cart? Fine, you can check out. So me and my dad were at the store, we had about a cart full of everything we needed and we unloaded it at the checkout. This guy behind us is just restless, literally nudging us with his cart whilst we were unloading, without a mask no less. My dad decided to do the polite thing and let him go ahead, as someone in that big of a hurry most definitely needed to get out of there quick. He didn't see any problem with it though, as his self-importance superseded us calling to question his BS. He literally saw it as something nice and even said, "Thank you." So we roll our cart back and now, with all our items loaded on the belt, he has to unload all his items to the checkout lady individually out of his cart, being about a full cart. Takes 4 times longer than it would have taken for both of us to go through as normal. Next one is titled, Choose Drugs Over Me? Enjoy being unemployed. I was dating a guy the first had a crush on in high school, then ran back into in our mid-30s. Things went well for a while, but then he relapsed on some hard drugs. Needing a fix, he went to his ex-girlfriend's house and had sex for drugs. Nope, not my boyfriend. Dumped his butt, ignored his crying and begging, cut all contact. I found out later, he used me as a reference for some job applications. I don't know why, I was never in any business relationship with him and he knew I would not lie for him and claim I was. He had just finished school to become a certified electrician. I started getting calls left and right asking about his reference. I told every single person that called the entire truth. I said, sure, hire him, but keep your valuables locked down tight and drug test him twice a week. Someone told me I could get in trouble for that because the only thing a reference is legally allowed to say is, yes, no, about would we rehire them. I reminded that person, that only applies to people he actually worked for, not ex-girlfriends he cheated on. Last I heard he moved from Washington to Texas because he couldn't find work up here. Next one is titled, Karen Fusses Over Tires, We'll Make You Wait Longer. I'm not the one who got the revenge, but my coworker. I work in the tire department of a major retail chain, but I sometimes bounce around the store. The other day, I had just come back to my department after covering a lunch break in a separate department. Upon returning, my coworker had a small line at the register. I immediately start helping her bag items as she rings out customers. As I was bagging, I look up to see an older couple. The woman was fussing about us taking too long, so I asked her, "How can I help you, ma'am?" "I need these tires," she says, handing me a piece of paper. "Okay, let me check the computer to see if we have them in store." I walk over to the computer and look up the size. We didn't have any in store. It was a smaller tire that usually isn't requested, so not unusual. "Sorry ma'am, we don't have these in stock." "What do you mean you don't have these in stock?" "Well, it's an odd size, so we don't keep them stocked up as much." "Well, where else can we go?" At this point, my coworker steps in, and I just watch. It's important to note that the lady has been entirely rude the entire time and the man with her, probably her husband, looks completely fed up with her. My coworker is giving the man directions to a different tire shop in town. The man asks, "Does insert neighboring town store have them?" My coworker's face lit up. She volunteers to call. Usually we just give them that store's number, but she wanted to call them instead, so she started calling. The woman growing increasingly ill over the idea of driving to another town due to time. After a failed call to the first store, the man asks about a different neighboring store. He's also getting a smile on his face. You could tell he slightly enjoyed the idea of us taking up more of his wife's time. My coworker called that store as well, and also volunteered to call the other tire store in town and a third neighboring town. After calling around for about 5 minutes, no one was answering their phones. The woman was getting really upset, but the man's face was lit up. He was even kinda laughing. She eventually blurted out, "I just shouldn't have woken up this morning." My coworker replied, "No, you don't say that. What you mean is, I shouldn't have gone anywhere today." "No, I shouldn't have woken up. I'm ready to go home to my lord," she replied, raising her hand up in the air. Now, my coworker, slightly more pissed at the woman, just stopped talking with her altogether, just quit talking to the woman and focused on the husband. She continued to call around for about another 15 minutes until someone finally answered. Next one is titled, Work for an Abusive Company? Okay, I quit and will find a better job. So this happened a little more than a year ago, as I had been temping for years, and I am not a spring chicken either. I am 52 years old as I write this. I had worked for a few places in my career, one being Pro Unlimited, who wanted to cut my hours and give my position to 2 interns. Fine. I left there and worked for a few places before settling on a place called Medrex. Medrex is a medical records company and I was getting paid $14 per hour. I live in northern CA to do physical labor at the age of 51. My manager never really looked after me, and when I did hard work and met deadlines I was never praised for it. However, if I screwed up I got chewed out for it, and I mean for something minor. So at around August, September I had enough, and it also didn't help that I was having problems staying awake at work. I was stressed out all the time, hated where I worked, and the office we were in was sealed up, as this took place in 2020 and we were in COVID. I never missed any work and wasn't praised for that either. So I saw that the county was accepting applications for office assistant, and when I got it I reached out to my old lead at another agency. They asked if I was interested in working for a department I had worked for previously. How could I say no? So I threw my hat into the ring, so to speak, and was told that I would start November 2nd. That 10/30th, it was like ducking Christmas. My boss wasn't in, as she had a great idea to take a 3-day weekend, and she loved taking those, so I told my interim boss, who always had a quote of saying, "How can you tell if a man is lying? His lips are moving," and I am a male, and she hated me. So I basically told her today was my last day, and she was shocked. I told people throughout the company and they were all shocked. I did it, I was free. So why am I posting this now? Hard work pays off, and my job with the county, not as a temporary employee, will start in a few weeks. Morale of the story? You don't have to take a shitty job. Last one is titled, Wanna Be a Jerk? Fine, take the wrong freeway. I had a guy tailgating me for about a mile in the far right lane, and no matter how much I slowed down or sped up he would keep tailgating me. It was a fairly busy night with traffic, so switching lanes wasn't much of an option, as my exit was coming up right after the split between 2 freeways, 605 and 91. I continue at a bit over the speed limit, and he decides at the fork where the 91 splits and the new 2 far right lanes become the left 2 lanes of the 605 to try and go around me. He switches lanes rapidly and speeds up. So I speed up and he keeps trying to overtake me with less than a mile to go. I manage to block him out and force him to take the 605 ramp and not let him back onto the 91. Sucks to suck, had he not been tailgating me on a busy freeway where I didn't have much of an option go switch lanes, I would have let him over with no problem. Thanks for listening.